The Honourable Member for Kitchener Centre.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to come back to my question to the Immigration Minister about challenges being faced by members of my community seeking to reunite with loved ones and needing to work with Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada to do so. One example is refugee claimants and permanent residents who first came as refugees and now are seeking to travel outside of Canada to be with family. In question period, I asked about Atelti, a permanent resident in my community who applied for a travel document last February to join his wife in Sweden for the birth of their daughter. 10 months later, Atelti's request has still not been processed, and he's yet to even meet his daughter. There are so many others in similar positions in Kitchener. Naima, for example, who was sponsored by a local church back in 2019 and came solo to Canada with her 3 young boys. Her husband is awaiting sponsorship by the same church group. She applied for a travel document for herself and her boys to visit her sick mother in hospital overseas back in January. In February, the file was marked as urgent, and while Naima got her travel document, her children's applications haven't been finalized yet, and so she can't visit. For the past 3 months, Naima has been calling IRCC every 2 weeks to request updates. Will she ever get to visit her sick mom? My team and I have been advocating to IRCC for both Atelti and Naima without success to date. For my team and I, it feels unjust, the gap between the 2 standards that exist in Canada. One is for people like myself with citizenship. We can travel. I was just in Egypt, for example, for the annual climate negotiations a few weeks ago. But for those who came to Canada as refugees, like Atelti and Naima, they're being denied the same opportunity, even in life and death situations with no timeline and seemingly no accountability. This lack of a timeline and accountability also extends to other requests made by neighbors of mine to IRCC, where we're trying to bring families back together. A couple more examples. Angeline is in Canada, and she's attempting to sponsor her husband, Puya, to join her. They've been waiting since 2019, and since my office first inquired on their behalf, we've received no updates. Their file has been relegated to so-called non-routine status, which means that normal processing times simply don't apply. Another neighbor is Jess and her husband, waiting to be reunited with their sons, who are now 8 and 11 years old. Their applications for permanent residency for their sons was submitted back in 2019. All assessments have passed except for eligibility, which is under further review, and so now again, normal processing times don't apply. They haven't received an update since 2020. Now, I know that the Government of Canada can solve these issues. One example is improvements made to processing passports, which was a significant concern back in the spring and has since been brought under control. But people like Atelti, Naima, Angeline, and Jess, and dozens more in my community have a right to travel and to be reunited with their loved ones. And so I'd like to know, what is the minister doing to address systemic issues at Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship
Secretary to the Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship.
Madam Speaker, I want to thank the honourable member for the question. As the member knows, Canada has faced a number of events that led to IRCC having a large volume of files that are being treated on timelines outside of processing standards. The global pandemic led to borders and offices around the world being closed. As Canada is among the top destinations in the world for immigrants and refugees seeking a new life, demand continued to grow during this time, and when travel restrictions were lifted, well, there was a massive number of applications to come to Canada. While tackling that growing demand, the government also faced a back-to-back humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan and Ukraine. And thankfully, our government was able to step up quickly and offer much-needed support to those who are most vulnerable. Our government also responded well to each challenge as it came up. And that's because we know that immigration is critically important for our country's economy. That is why we have been investing to make sure our immigration system works well. The fall of 2021 Economic and Fiscal Update announced $85 million in funding for our RCC and federal partners organization to reduce the inventories and support return to service standards. In the fall of 2022 Economic and Fiscal Update, an additional $50 million was committed to continue to address application backlog and speed up processing times. These investments are already yielding significant results. As of October 31st, the department has hired over 1,000 new employees and is expected to add up to 400 more by the end of March 31st, 2023. Over 850 of those employees have already been trained and are fully operational. Further, we've implemented technology-based solutions and streamlining processes, improved policy, re-examined our risk tolerance, and have leveraged provincial, territorial, and other partners to ensure that we're able to respond quickly and effectively to client concerns. Here are some very telling statistics for 2022 compared to the 2021. RCC has processed over 135% more PR applications, nearly 3 times more work permits, nearly 1/3 more study permits, and nearly 5 times more temporary residence visa. We have been taking concrete steps to reduce the number of applications in the system that have been in inventories longer than the service standards. Our government knows the wait is too long for those hoping to come to Canada to start their new lives, to reunite with loved ones, to further their education, or for business owners seeking valued foreign workers. We are working hard to address the challenges and return to the service standards our clients expect. And that's what Canada's future students, workers, permanent residents, and citizens expect. I'm proud to stand on behalf of our government to reassert our commitment to improving processing, reducing backlogs, and ensuring our immigration system works for everyone. Merci.
The Honourable Member for Kitchener Centre.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm glad to hear of more resources being allocated. I guess I hope to see those resources lead to improved outcomes for the people in my community who are separated from loved ones, whose loved one might be sick, whose has a baby, who's waiting to see and meet that child for the first time. And so I'd like to know better, how are the resources being allocated? So these so-called non-routine cases, for example, who are the most time-intensive and heartbreaking we deal with. Can the Parliamentary Secretary share more about whether enough time and resources are being given to these non-routine cases, and maybe what percentage of cases are these non-routine ones that we're having the most challenging situations with, so that Atelti can meet his daughter, so that Naima can visit her sick mom? Thank you.
Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, as the honourable members know, each and every case is different, and immigration officials are working hard to address the delays while ensuring the safety of Canadians. Immigration has faced significant global challenges, including the humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan and Ukraine, a pandemic-generated backlog, a surge in demand for people wanting to come to Canada. Madam Speaker, we did not create these challenges, but we do have a plan to address them, and our plan is working. We have invested to increase processing capacity and are adopting new technologies to improve our system. Madam Speaker, we know that, as the member mentioned, too many clients face and the wait time is too long, and we are going to be committed, as always, to ensuring that we return to our service standards. Merci, Madame la Présidente.